former prisoner and inmate.
You did it.
What are you doing, Guns?
You bit the hell out of me.
Wanna see you with your hands up. Going straight to the sky, let me see you put your hands up. Cause we do till we die and we on another level.
I'm at New York City.
To the first we get by, the hips and the got a piece of the pie. Told you once, told you twice that we only got one life.
On the way to achieve success after prison, he's going to share his story with us right now.
Diamond shine, best at night. You wear yours, I'll wear mine. Go dumb tonight.
What's up? So, welcome back to another video. It's been a minute. I've been working all day, all the live long day, on my book, my new book, in a couple days. I mean, I go every day. I go all day, every day at everything I do working wise. But this light's a little in my face, so I'd like to damper that a little bit. So I've been grinding, and sometimes when I just need a break, this is what I do. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna record a video. I get ideas for videos all the time. Like, I tell this story, tell that story. Usually I forget because I'm forgetful. Which reminds me, while I'm being forgetful, I have, to people, anybody who's like ordering right now, Arthing Apparel, orders something, I'm giving them gifts, some of them. If they're embroidered stuff, like the custom stuff that's embroidered, tracksuits and jackets and stuff like that, shorts, anything embroidered, I'm sending them gifts. Like, I have all these signed books by the author, like this guy, he's a friend of mine. It's a Jimmy Hoffa book. This is a crime thriller by these are guests who have been on my radio show. This is a great one that Penguin Books sent me. Gangsters versus Nazis. It's about the Jews, how they helped America try to defeat the Jews in World War II. It's crazy. It's about the mafia. So I got a couple. Those aren't signed, but I also have one volume left of Sandra Petty. She's a Pulitzer Prize winning author who's been on my show, and her publisher Penguin sent me these books. They're not signed, but these are like $40 hardcover books about Sonny Francis. I think I have one left. That's the last one. So she's a huge fan of my books. She read my books and called me out of the blue and says, "Just finished your books. Where can I post my rave reviews?" I'm like, "Amazon." I said, "Can I quote you on a quote?" And she says, "Yeah." I said, "Well, before she even said that, I said, this is what she said. She's like, "How can they not make this a movie? How come this isn't a movie?" And I said, "Can I quote you on that?" She said, "Absolutely." So, bang. So I really got to add that to like my blurb on my book. But anyways, so you get a free book with you when you order from Arthing Apparel, one of the embroidered custom things. So what did I wanted to share today? I was going to talk about my trip to Vegas, because I still might. I might record it after the fact. Because I originally recorded it. It was a really good show, but my wife heard it and didn't like it because it's a bunch of girls involved. And she's like, "Really, you're married today, you're a Christian today," telling me. And I'm just recounting a story of when I was 27 years old or whatever, But, don't make her comfortable. So why would I, so I took it down, But I can tell the story again, although it won't have the same impact as the story about the girls are actually the funniest part, really. But still, it's a good story. Maybe I'll record that after the fact. Right now, I'm going to tell a story about how I witnessed a murder, right in front of me, in the same room, and it's basically about karma. I was telling my wife this story the other day, and she's like, "Oh, I don't like hearing these type of stories," and I know she doesn't. It's like, and I told her what I was going to do now. She's like, "Why that story?" I'm like, "It's an interesting story. It's got a backstory." And she's like, "I don't like those kind of stories." I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. And I'm not trying to glamorize it or glorify that life, but it is what it is. I saw it. It was, I was around it. So it's what it is." But there's karma. The moral of the story that I'm going to finish on is that karma's a bad mother effer. I've seen people hate on me and end up dead. I've seen people who hated on me, who do hate on me, who are absolutely mentally ill, and they live in a tiny little world in a basement on Social Security, and mental disability and they're miserable. I'm like, why wouldn't you try to focus your time and energy on something positive, and building somebody up and trying to break them down? It is just bizarre, because karma will come back and get you. It always does. Just like when I went to prison, you know what I'm saying? I was out there renegade, gun, robbing and stealing, doing crazy stuff all my life. And then it came back and karma got me. So I decided I'm going to act right. And I tried to in prison, and karma got me here. So I got a nice life today. Today was one of those days I was debating if I was going to go trout fishing or what I was going to do. I was going to do a little work on my motorcycle maybe. I actually fixed the chicken coop, but it started raining. I'm like, man, what the hell? I'm just going to stay home and write my book, work on my book. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm super into it, bro. Like my new novel, Snowman Chronicles, about these 2 cocaine smugglers. It's absolutely mind-boggling how big this story is. These guys are freaking, will blow your mind. When you start to, I don't want to give away the story, but it's bigger than anything that's ever been shown on TV or anything like that. These guys facilitate the global distribution of cocaine for a cartel on a level that's never been done, that we know of. Maybe they're doing it, maybe they're not, but it's all, from my imagination. But the whole story along the way was inspired by little true events, things that I saw, people I was around, things that I did, and they're little things that I just built from, right? And I actually kind of inspired by my friend Eli, my old friend Eli. I don't talk to him anymore, but he when I was writing that book in prison, I told him, the story and how he kind of inspired the main character, Jimmy Rios, and just this whole thing. But basically, the moral of the story is a cartel nephew ends up in Detroit. He moves down the street from a wise guy's nephew. They become friends, become drug dealers, and and 10 years later, they are facilitating. Basically, they link the cocaine cartel directly to the mafia. At first, it starts kind of local, then regional, then nationally, and then internationally. So it's just crazy. I'm enjoying editing. It's a fun book. It's a book that I would like to read. If you're into that type of thing, trust me. The hard part is playing down the money. Because when you're dealing with them kind of numbers, it's so much money that most people can't wrap their minds around it. But anyways, going back to how I witnessed the murder, right? This freaking light just seems too bright on my face, man. I'm not a fan of it. So, back when I first moved back from New York, just to give you an idea of the type of hustler I was too. Before I came home from New York, I bought like $4,000 worth of watches, right? These aren't your average like fake Rolexes and stuff like that. These were actually high-end fakes. So they were, in a fake Rolex, you have tick, tick, tick. You can spot that a mile away if you know anything about watches. But if you have a sweep, then it's hard, that could, and then you have like mid-level fakes. This was a mid-level fake. I could buy them for about $75 and I could sell them for about $500, You could convince people they are real and they're like, look, it's got the sweep and it's all the numbers. It looks super freaking, dope. But I bought a bunch of them so I could bring them home and sell them. Excuse me. But there was people, in Detroit's different. They didn't really care about watches. In New York, everybody wanted a freaking dope ass watch, a Patek or a Rolex or Omega or whatever. And I had a little of everything, but nobody knew what a Patek was, which is, $20,000 watch. So I am getting back in the game on my feet when I moved back from from New York to Detroit. And I remember having these watches, and I'm such a hustler mentality, right? That I'm not selling these watches to my friends. They don't want to buy them. I'm like, what the frick? So I go down in the hood. Now, keep in mind, I'm by myself. This is down in the ghetto of Detroit, east side of Detroit. I know there's a lot of dope boys there. There's a lot of dope pumping through this neighborhood. I was friends with some dope dealers. I knew some, and they knew me as a weed dealer. When I moved back, I went and looked up some of my friends, all these black dudes, right? So I think what I was doing was I was dropping off some weed. I had just come from dropping off some weed. I'm driving on Saratoga, some ghetto ass street in the hood, right? And I see these 3 dudes sitting on the porch. They look like they got some money. They don't look like crackheads or freaking crack babies. They got some jewelry on, dressed real nice. I'm like, all right, these guys are probably, trap workers, So I pull my car over, like, just pull over and jump out. And they're just sitting on the porch, like smoking a blunt, like looking at me like, what's this white boy want? You know, there ain't no white people in this neighborhood. There's none, zero, except crackheads, you know, but you can spot them. They look like crackheads. Crackheads and dope fiends, you know, they come around to buy dope, but they have a look. Everybody, you can spot a dope fiend, a crackhead, you know, in the hood easily. So I walk up to these dudes and I say, hey, and I had like 3 watches on. So I'm like, anybody want to buy a watch, a dope watch, you know? And I tell them they're fake, you know. I mean, they're not real Rolexes, but they're good fakes. And, you know, nobody can tell if you're just wearing one in the club or wherever. It's got a sweep, so it don't look fake. And they all bought watches, all of them. And I sold them for like $300 each. So they had money. And I ended up saying to the dude, his name was Chuck, the main dude, right? Because he actually took me to this dope house down the block, actually, same street, down the block. He says, my mom might be interested in one of those. Her mom? Okay. He said, you got any ladies? And I did. I said, not on me, but he's like, well, I want to show her. So we go down to Saratoga. I think McQuarrie was the side street, so it was the first block, which I have history in that neighborhood, because that's the same block where there's the 2 things happening. That's the same block where the Arab store owner wouldn't take my $100 bills. He wouldn't cash my $100 bills, and I got mad at him. Told him we had words exchanged. He said he'd shoot me. I said I'd shoot him, but he's all behind plexiglass, you know. He can bulletproof glass. And so I came in there with a grenade one day. A grenade. It was a real grenade, Canadian. My dad got it, actually. And I walked in there. I said, yeah, what's up now? Because you got the little spin around thing. You know what I'm saying? You walk in. I said, I pulled a pin and put this on the thing, spin it around. I'm waiting outside of the door. You coming out or blowing up, one or the other. I'm going to get your ass. Dude's freaking out. No, man, mama, come on, man, come on. And he asked these black dudes who that's a whole nother. So I should tell that whole story, but I'm not going to get into it. But I actually ended up meeting Big Meech because of that. Because he owned a car wash across the street. And some of his boys, you know, this Arab dude went to his boys and said, man, you know, the old man, he's freaking out, thinks you're going to freaking blow him up, shoot him, kill him. They're laughing because they knew what I did. They'd be like, you know, what do you do? I got a brand new Ninja. I'm in the hood. And one of the dudes had a Ninja just like mine, like a bigger one than mine, like an 1100. Mine was a 900, but they looked almost the same. And that was Meech. That's how I met him. And we ended up going to hang out on Belle Isle that day. And that's the only time I ever saw the dude. But it was an interesting story about Big Meech. I didn't know who he was really at the time. And his boys were like, you know who that is? I said, no. He said, that's Big Meech. I said, you know, oh, who's that? You know, BMF? Guy had a BMF like plate out in platinum thing. I don't know. So same street. So this kid Chuck says, come with me. I want to introduce you to my mom. So it's an interesting house. So there's 2 doors on the front porch. You open one and it goes upstairs to an apartment upstairs, right? And the other door goes into a separate apartment. So the separate apartment was where Chuck's grandpa lived. His name, they called him Pops. It's an old dope fiend in a wheelchair. Now, I don't know how many people like known like real dope fiends and old dope fiends. He had shot out all his veins over the years shooting dope that he couldn't even walk anymore. Old crusty old man, like Sanford and Son looking motherfucker. And he introduced me to him, and I didn't want to be in no dope house, you know. But the weird thing was when you walk in, the one door, you could walk in one door, and then there's another door that could enter that other apartment. And so one day we happened to be, so anyways, first he takes me up to meet his mother. This is crazy. His mother is sitting in this pretty plushed out like apartment. It's little. She's kind of fat, and she's covered in jewelry, gold, mostly kind of little gold, trinkety, you know, what crackheads say, give me a crack rock for that. Covered in it, though, all kinds of chain. And she's got on the table a bunch of crack, and a crack pipe, and a freaking flamethrower. And there's a couple dudes in there, and they are her bitch, basically. They do what she says, and then she gives them a little dope, and they get high, and they're like her bodyguard / everything, right? So Chuck brings me up there. And I don't remember if it was that day. No, it wasn't that day. It was later on. I ended up meeting their plug, dude named Juan, was their, I wonder if they ever see this. This would be crazy. They're like, no freaking way. So their main dope man came up there one day, and I was in there, and he's saying to Chuck, who's this freaking big white boy? And he's like, it's my boy. He sells weed, blah, blah, blah. And he didn't want to deal with me. But eventually, he dealt with me. He bought weed from me. But it took about a month before he got cool with me. But anyways, if he brings me up there, and there's this like Queen Nefertiti looking fat black chick covered in gold. And I try to sell her watch. She don't want to do it. She's like, I got watches. I got all this stuff. I'm like, all right, well, if you never want one. She's like, but I'll buy, I told her, I sell weed too. She's like, oh, let me trade you some crack for some weed. And I'm like, I don't smoke crack, so no thanks. And she's like, well, you can sell it. I'm like, I don't know anybody who smokes crack. Like, I don't know any crackheads. She's like, well, you could sell it to somebody. Somebody's going to buy it. I basically did it for like, here's a dime bag. She gave me a 20 rock. So I said, find somebody. You want to buy this 20 rock? And I don't remember what I did with it. I don't remember if I sold it or whatever. And got the hell out of there. So the dude, Chuck, who's a younger guy, he's about a year or two younger than me. And I was probably like 23, maybe 4 or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But I get cool with the dude. And he says, I can move some weed because they got a dope spot. They got another dope spot. So they got that house where you walk in and go to the apartment where Pops lives is a trap house. That's where they slang dope. So she's upstairs with the weight, pumping it down to Pops, who's in a wheelchair downstairs, and the dope fiend's knocking the door, and there's always a couple guys helping him too. They said we can sell anything, because at the time I was getting pills. So, because I said to him, can you get rid of some pills? What kind of pills? I'm like, Tylenol 3s. That's a whole freaking another story. I get a whole story about how I started scoring Tylenol 3s. But in a nutshell, my friend's mother was a dental hygienist, and she smoked weed. And she said, I'll trade you a script of pills for an eighth of weed. And I had taken Tylenol 3s before and liked them. They affected me really good. Like they were strong. They were just like, they felt like Vicodins to me. I mean, not quite as strong, but they felt good. And so I was like, So I ended up faking the script, Xeroxing the script, right? Cutting it out perfect, put the wax across the top to make it look like it was ripped out of a pad. And I freaking hit every pharmacy in the east side of Detroit, had my girl going in there and everybody going. So I had like peanut butter jars filled with like thousands of these things, right? And I was selling for like $2 a piece. So, and people were buying them, people were still getting high of them. They'd go to a party, pop 5 of them. Like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. And I was eating them too, like candy. I was freaking eating them all the time. And so I said, Chuck, I'm like, think you can move some of these pills? He says, yeah, I think I can. I'm like, you sure you got pills? He's like, dude, hell yeah. Our other house, he's like, where I live, my aunt and my 2 aunts live there, and I live with them. And everybody's in there always talking about pills and stuff like that, and yada, yada. It's not quite as ghetto, but it's the ghetto. I mean, when I say not ghetto, it is ghetto. But where this trap house is panic zone. Don't go there ghetto. You know what I'm saying? It's really bad. Today, all those abandoned houses have been plowed, bulldozed down. And there's only one house for every 5 houses where there used to be one. It's all dozed. Also, one of the dudes who lived next door to there was, if you ever heard of the Cheddar Boys, people might remember the Cheddar Boys, the rappers and stuff. They were started off as dope dealers. They were trapping out of the next house, but it was McQuarrie. I met him a couple times, but I didn't really talk to him much. White dude in the hood, man. They're very stand out. When you're like a big white dude, they think cop right away. So, but I was down in the hood all the time because there was money to get made there. Plus girls. I like black girls. So I had a thing for black girls. I was always shopping for girls, hunting for girls. And it was just something I did. I go down there on my Ninja all by myself with a tank top on. Well, I roll up on girls. I might see some dudes like, you guys buy weed? Smoke weed? Hell yeah. And they never could get good weed down there. So I was like, oh, I got the good bud. Boom. I was never scared. Sometimes I carry a gun, but usually not because I didn't want to get stopped with the gun. I remember the cop stopped me one time and I had a gun and I had dope in my hand. I was on my Ninja. But a girl on the back, she didn't have a helmet. The cop pulls me over next to me. He's like, what are you doing, man? She's got to have a helmet. I said, oh, I was just giving her a ride around the block. He's like, we got to have a helmet. I was like, well, can I drop her off? He's like, yeah, you good. I said, yeah. In my hand is a freaking 2 bundles of dope. And I got a pistol under my shirt. I was ready to just go. If he would have got out and said, here, man, step aside, let me check you. I would have gone. I ran from him there, too, in that neighborhood, too. And I shot a guy in that neighborhood. I shot a couple guys in that neighborhood. That's crazy. Well, these are all stories that will come out down the road when I'm telling my full story. That's the same neighborhood where I got smashed with a bat and stabbed. Got in a gunfight where I got shot in the leg, where a guy put a gun to my head and went to wreck around in the chamber and it jammed. I pulled my gun out and shot at him. I'm not going to say I hit him, but I don't know. Maybe I did. So Chuck says I can move some weed and I can move some pills. Good looking kid. I can tell he's a little on the cocky side, and he's used to like white boys being kind of crackheady and dope fiendish, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not, I'm like a solid alpha dude, man. Like, man, I'm no bitch, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, I'm no bitch if I'm down here in the hood by myself, slanging dope, slanging watches, whatever it is. That's what they think. This guy's got to be like, this guy ain't no joke if he's down here in the hood. So their other house was on Rochelle, which is the one house is on Saratoga, the other house is on Rochelle, is where they lived, right? And they still slung dope out of the Rochelle house, but it was only more like weight. Like if you came there to buy dope, you were gonna buy a couple of bundles maybe, or an ounce, So Chuck really hung out there because it was more of a spot where people with money would show up. And I said, I put him in some weed. I think I gave him a pound. Eventually, I think I started with a quarter pound. And he would just sit there all day, and people come in, you want to buy some weed, you need some trees, and they'd be like, yeah, what do you got? And be like, a half ounce, quarter ounce, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he was doing good. And the house was kind of crazy, man. Like, him and his cousins stayed in the basement. It was super dirty and nasty with mounds of dirty clothes. The upstairs was dirty and nasty too, but it was like halfway organized. But there was always 2, 3, 4 people hanging out. So there was his 2 aunts, Serena, and I can't remember the other one's name, which you'd think I would because she was the good looking one who was trying to bone me. There was one of them, she was actually an attractive girl, a woman, a little on the skinny side for me, but she was attractive and she'd wear a dress and she looked good, but she was constantly just like throwing herself at me, trying to get me to like, what's up, man? I'll take you upstairs and do this, I'll take that, flirting with me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, she smoked crack part-time. She wasn't a regular crackhead. She admitted, she's like, once in a while, they smoke a couple rocks on the weekend, whatever. But the other sister, Sabrina, was a straight-cut crackhead. And she was skinny as hell, but she was real nice. She was a nice little chick, you know what I'm saying? Super friendly to me and flirty and nice. And every time I come over, they were all talkative and on my jock. And I'm like, she like hit a rock. And she lived there too. Chuck would sit on the floor playing Nintendo. And I'd swing by to pick up money and drop off some dope. I might hang out for a few minutes. And one of the dudes that were always in this house was this like dark-skinned black dude, kind of on the stocky side, muscle bound. I got the impression he had been in prison because he's kind of, he got some tattoos and he always had his shirt off. He didn't look like a crackhead because he was kind of muscle bound. But I think he probably was a crackhead or part-time. I don't know. But he was always there, and he would give me the dirtiest looks all the time. Like, he wouldn't talk to me, he would mean-mug me. And I remember in my mind thinking, like, I might have to freaking beat this dude's ass. Like, if he gets tough or says something, man, I'm going to break this dude's jaw. I can tell you don't like me. No idea why. Then after a month or two, not Pam, that's the other sister. Pam is the one with Nefertiti with all the jewelry. She stays in the dope spot upstairs, right? She's almost never at this house. She does live there, but she's almost always at the dope spot selling crack. And she's making money. Obviously, she got a bunch of jewelry and money and minions. So I go over there to pick up money from Chuck from the living spot. And this dude was always there. And there's always like him and another dude. And one day, the good-looking sister, I remember how the conversation went, but essentially he said, yeah, that's my ex-husband. And I'm like, that's your ex-husband? She's like, yeah, I think I was in the kitchen. He was in another room. I said, no wonder you don't look. You're always hitting on me. You're always flirting me. She's laughing. He ain't going to do nothing. I'm like, yeah, but you know what I'm saying? If you're his wife, or it's not my wife. I'm not his wife. It's ex-wife. I'm like, still, you know what I'm saying? I mean, where's he live? She's like, here. It's like, oh, God, man. This is bad. This could be bad. So now I'm nervous about this Rick guy. And always keep watching him. And so what I don't know is, one day before I went there, I can't remember where I was, but I went to pick up some money or drop off some dope, probably both, right? Not much, half a pound or something. And Chuck was like, yo, hang out for a minute, play me in a game of whatever he was playing, all right? I didn't like hanging out in spots like that, even though it wasn't like a trap house. It was a trap house. People were coming and going all day, buying bundles, ounces of heroin. The dope man, his name was Juan, he'd come and go. all the time, and they were really like, they had a good operation going because they were very secretive about who did what. They didn't talk out in the open, and they were pretty slick about their operation. I give it to them. I was just a guy selling some weed and pills. Chuck had a jar of pills and told people, "Don't give me $2 a pill." I think I was selling them for $1, and I didn't sell a ton of them, but he probably ended up selling 1,000 of them for me. That's pretty good, over a couple of months. So one day I said, all right, man, I'll play in the game for a minute. And again, I don't like being in this environment, but it is what it is. It's not a big deal. So I sit down. I don't even remember what we were playing because I was traumatized. And all of a sudden, the door opens, and like I'm right here, and the front door is right there. Door opens. I look. It's Sabrina, this little crackhead chick, right? So I kind of like, hey, and I just keep playing, right? And all I hear is, "What's up now, motherfucker?" That's all I hear. I hear, "What's up now, motherfucker?" This girl say that. And then I hear, "Pow!" I freaking, it's right behind me, man. Pow! What the frick? I look back, and dude's on the couch, and he's looking at his chest like this. The eyes are all big. He's like, and then he starts like heaving to breathe. This motherfucker dies, bro. Right in front of me. She pops him with a 22. A 22 revolver, little 22 revolver, had a long barrel. She shot him. And what I didn't know was that he had beat her ass earlier in the day. And she went and found a pistol, however she found it, where she got it, I don't know. And she came back, was like, "Yeah, what's up now, mother effer?" And I guess he was starting to get up. Because Pop was in the house, which is ironic because Pop was usually in the other dope spot, the trap house. But he was there in the room, sitting in his wheelchair. And he kind of afterwards, I see him like a day or two later, and like, well, how did it actually go down? Because I wasn't looking. I just heard, "Well, don't move, mother effer," and her Pop. He said he started to get up like he's going to do something, and she shot him. And as soon as I look at the dude, and he died pretty quick. He was out in like 30 seconds. He's done. A shot to the heart with a 22 at point blank range that'll do it. So I look at Chuck and I'm like, "I'm out of here, bro. I'm not sitting around being a freaking witness to this. I'm not leaving a statement. I'm not nothing. I'm gone." You know what I'm saying? I was never here. That's what I said. "I'm out of here, bro. I was never here, man. Didn't see nothing." Boom, I'm out. So I go back like the next day, and I said, "What happened to Sabrina?" She's like, "Is she in jail?" She's like, "No, they let her out." She turned herself in, told the cops that the whole story, how he had beat her, and then what she did. I don't know about the gun was probably illegal, but there's a million illegal guns in Detroit. They probably didn't even like whatever. Everybody's got an illegal gun. And so whatever the case is, they held her for like 5 hours and then didn't press charges. It turns out the dude had been in prison for rape. He had raped a woman, and she claimed that like he raped her. That's what he said. That's what she said. Like, he had raped me earlier in the day and he came after me again. I shot him this time. Is that true? Maybe. I don't. But she popped this motherfucker right in front of me. And again, this is a perfect example of karma. Karma's a bad mother effer. You think you can get away with something, or you think you can do something to somebody and not face consequences through karma, through life. You got another thing coming, man. It doesn't have to be from that person, because God is the ultimate, delver of justice. Karma can come from anywhere. If you're a bad person or a douchebag and you do a bunch of people wrong, you could be walking across the street and bang, get hit by a bus. Not surprised. If you're a douchebag or scumbag, whatever, and you look around and your life sucks, you're miserable, you got nothing, well, how's that a surprise? Because most people who actually are good people live pretty good lives. Things like this don't happen to them. They don't just die, get hit with a bus, or they don't get shot in the chest or whatever. So that's my advice: is to always practice what you preach, do good unto others, and practice good karma, because it'll come around. And I've witnessed it my whole life, all my life. When I did bad, I got bad, and I've seen people do bad, they got bad. And a lot of people think these days, because they're like hiding in a basement somewhere, that they're safe from karma. No, you're not. You may already be under the thumb of karma, because if you're a loser, you know what I'm saying? That's right there. How about apply yourself to being a good person, supportive person, or encouraging person, or whatever, and suddenly you look around and go, man, life is getting better. You know what I'm saying? I got an opportunity here. Got a new girlfriend, made a new friend, got a new house, got a new job, that's how it works, life, karma. So that's my story about that murder. Was pretty crazy. I don't remember what happened to Chuck. I don't know how we lost touch or whatever, but I do remember hooking up with his cousin Juan and doing some dope dealing with him for a while, and then no idea what happened. Who knows? A million things could have happened. Probably got busted. One of them got busted or something like that. And I was just, got busted. All right, well, it's nice knowing you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not. Wasn't like trying to be boys with the dude. It was a business operation. So, is what it is. So, anyways, that's my story about karma. It can come back and bite you bad. I seen it. This dude was a freaking douchebag who beat on women, and he met his maker because of that. So a lot of people, man, you gotta watch what you say, watch what you do, how you treat people, man. Life ain't no joke. It's short. I'm just saying. So that's another one in the books. I'm gonna record this Vegas trip too. What's up? Round 2. I'm gonna record this Vegas story. I was just thinking about the last story I was shared about karma and stuff. And I totally forgot. There's another piece of the story, or a story that involves karma, where my uncle Pete, and I was going to do a whole show on him and just talk about him. He was an interesting character. Some dude screwed him over out of a bunch of money who was supposed to be a friend. And that's the first time I ever got paid to beat somebody up. It was $800. And they had a scam going with this construction stuff. They were stealing. They were in on it with the contractors, and it was everything was insured. So when they stole it and sold it, the contractor would get the insurance because the property that was being built was insured. And then my uncle and his boy were selling it, but that dude, his partner, was undercutting him and selling it to another dude on the side, and not telling my uncle. That dude on the side went and told my uncle that he was doing it because I guess they were friends. And then my uncle told me, I want you to freaking beat, I'm not going to say his name, I want you to beat his ass bad. And I'm like, I thought he was your boy, He's like, this is what he did. And I'm like, karma, right there is another example of how karma can get you. I might as well add this to the other story, and then I'll go back and finish. I'll start with the Vegas one. But that day he said, I want you to, we met at this. It's funny because this is like where I met Tony Giacalone a few times. I was out on Mount Elliott in the Boulevard, West Grand Boulevard, or whatever, East Grand, the Boulevard. They call it the Boulevard. And it was a spot that was owned by a black heroin dealer, right? And it was in the hood. I think it would be Connor would be the road, is it? Or was it Outer Drive? No, Mount Elliott. I'm sorry, Mount Elliott. Sorry. And so they had this black dude who ran the place. Nice guy, you know what I'm saying? Not a gangster, but a drug dealer. Him and his girl or his wife, they own the place. And I had some meetings with my uncle and a couple of his guys, biker dudes, and Tony Jack once upstairs, because they're like an apartment upstairs where the dude lived. And if we needed a private place to go have a meeting, we could go up there. The guy was cool with it. Like, go ahead, use my apartment. And so my uncle wanted me to beat this dude's ass there because he knew the dude would feel comfortable. But my uncle must have suspected that he knew something was up, because the dude showed up with his dog, with his German Shepherd. He had a big German Shepherd. When, why would you show up with your German Shepherd? Because my uncle said, yeah, meet me at this freaking, I can't even remember the name of the place. It's kind of a dumpy place. It wasn't actually on Mount Elliott. It was the next block over, maybe 2 blocks, right on the corner, a little dumpy place. And so we're waiting there, and he comes walking in. He's got his German Shepherd with him, right? And my uncle's paying me $800 to pound this guy. He's like, I want you to pound him. I want you to hurt him, put him in the hospital. And at the time, like $800 was a lot of money to me. I kind of looked at it like, I'm not even cool with the dude. I don't really know him that good. I thought he was your boy, but $800, I'll slap him around a little bit, punch him in the face a few times. I'll do it. My uncle knew I would do it. That's why he came to me. He knew he had been pruning me for this for years. Like he all along, he's been waiting for the time when he needed me to do this. So I did it. So when the dude comes walking in with his German Shepherd, I kind of told my uncle, I said, I ain't doing it with the dog here, man. You're gonna beat a guy's ass with his dog, his German Shepherd there. That's a definite way to get your ass freaking tore up. So, but I knew how to get rid of him. So I went over to the bar where the black dude was working. He was working behind a bar. There was just a really dumpy little bar. And I said, hey, man, can you tell that guy to get rid of the dog, man? And he's like, what's up? I'm like, he's got to go. I said like this. I'm like, he's got to go. I said, but I don't want the dog here. And said, all right, give me a minute. So he knew exactly the play real quick. And he comes walking over after a couple of minutes and says, excuse me, sir, can you put your dog outside? Dogs aren't allowed in here. And the dude's like, oh, okay. And he goes out, puts the dog in the car. And then when he comes back, we're all sitting around a table. And like my uncle says, so what have you been selling to so-and-so? Whatever the guy's name was. He's like, what? I didn't sell him nothing. He's like, really? Because he calls me and tells me so. And he like starts to deny it. He goes, dude, don't deny it. And he looks at me and I just freaking go, wham, bang, hit him in the chin and kind of almost knocks him out. He goes down on his hands and knees. I start kicking him in the face, punching him. It didn't really hurt him really bad. I just punched him in the face about 10 times. Not crazy hard. I wasn't trying to kill a guy. Just bang, 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 kick, bang. And another example of karma. What happens, you know? I guess that day, I was the administrator of karma. I was the applicator of karma. And that's how it works in life. Sometimes if somebody does something bad to you, well, maybe that was because you did something bad to somebody else and karma came back full circle. It happens. You know, I was never proud of that, and I'm still not. And I'm kind of ashamed of that. I mean, what a crappy thing. It's not the first time I beat up a guy for money. I did it a few times, 3, 4, 5 times probably. A couple come to mind. One of them was my friend. I'll tell that story another day. But I was a mob guy, and he had disrespected the mob guy in general for booking bets at his factory where he'd been booking for years, and he disrespected the guy's daughter and disrespected him when he told him to stop betting, and he kept doing it. It's this little guy named I almost call him Jamie because he looks like Jamie. I don't want to say his name, but Tino was his name. But anyways, I beat him up. We were never friends after that. And I told him, listen, you know, if I didn't do it, somebody else was going to do it. And I can control the beating. If somebody else does it, I can't control it. So he's like, yeah, sure, Al, sure. He said, yeah, all right, Al, sure. I get it, man. You had to do what you had to do. I'm like, you don't get it, bro. If I don't do it, another guy does it, man. And the guy might kill you. So with me, I could make it look good, give you a bloody nose, make it look. Anyways, I'll tell that whole story another day. It's a crazy story. And it happened at a place called Point Billiards in Grosse Pointe, on the Mac, and border of Detroit and Mac. And I did a lot of crazy crap in there, man. I beat that guy's ass in there. I pulled a gun on a guy in there. Like, I beat the crap out of him and then pulled the gun, put the gun in his mouth. There was like 70 people in the place. And they're all like, what the frick? Anyways, so that's karma, man. Watch karma. Now, I'll have to tell another story about karma with that particular dude, man, because it's a full story. I don't want to just blow through it. But that dude is another dude who he pulled a gun on me during a drug deal. Didn't actually point it at me, but he set it on the table. It wasn't even a drug deal. I had extorted his dealer for a pound of weed. And that's a whole story I'll get into another day. And they said, you're going to pay us for that weed. And I said, I'm paying for nothing, man. That's how it works, man. You're going to sell the weed. And the guy pulls the gun out, sets it on the table. And I said, that's how you're going to play it? He said, yeah. So the other guy says, all right, go get my money. I said, okay, I got you, bro. My bad. I got up and I walked out because I don't know if the guy's a freaking killer. I don't know if he, whatever. You know, I was scared and I don't want to get shot in this dude's house. So then I have a girl who kind of knows him, set him up, bring him to Point Billiards. And then I go in there and mollywop this freaking dude, just pound his brains in. And then pull the gun out and say, yeah, you're a gangster in the house with that gun, mother effer. You a gangster now? Tell me how gangster you are. And then the other dude who was acting really gangster, I have to catch him going in a gas station like a month later and beat the crap out of him, pound his face in, bro. Bad. Karma. That's what I'm saying. If you're going to play the role, if you're going to play the gangster, if you're going to play the tough guy and act like you're a tough guy, that's what these guys were doing, acting like gangsters. They're playing gangster, but they were with the wrong one. I wasn't playing gangster. I wasn't playing nothing. I was just being me. If you disrespect me or come at me like that, well, you're going to find out. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't going to pretend or play games. Or these dudes were clowns. They were acting, you know. And I'm not an actor, bro. I beat both their asses, smashed them. Don't let karma get you. I'm just saying.
Former prisoner and inmate.
You did it. What are you doing, Guns?
You bit the hell out of me.
Wanna see you with your hands up. Going straight to the sky, let me see you put your hands up. Cause we do till we die and we on another level.
I'm at New York City.
To the rest of your body, got a piece of the pie. Told Told you once, told you twice that we only got one life.
All the way to a